attitude about it. All right, so the first one, it says find dy dx. That's a derivative. What rules do we need? Good. The first thing is x. The second thing is sine of x. So it's going to be the first thing. Derivative of sine is cosine. Plus the second thing, which is sine of x. Derivative of the first is just 1. You don't really have to write it. And then all you got to do is look through and find which answer choice looks like that. It might be jumbled up. It might be written the other way because they're evil. What do you think? No, derivative of sine is just cosine. I think it is B, as in barracuda. Now, this test is so old, it still has choices A, B, C, D, E. You will only have 4 choices on all of yours. It will just be A, B, C, D. Okay. Also, if you notice, their non-calculator only goes through 28. Yours will go through 30. You're going to have 30 non-calculator and 15 calculator, but this test is so old, but it's the most recent one we have, so that's what we're going with. All right, so B for that one. All right, what is this one asking? They give you a function. When is the function increasing? What do we need to do? Find a what? A derivative. All right, what is your, you're going to either take a derivative or an integral. Those are the 2 options. If you aren't sure, do one or the other, okay? What is your derivative of that thing? Good, perfect. And we're going to set it equal to 0. We're going to make some number lines. You want your pluses and minuses in there for increasing, decreasing. What can you do to start solving that? Or I guess, do we want to factor it really? I would probably just go ahead and solve it. If it was me, I would add the 3x squared over. Divide by 3 will give you 100. And then what? Yep, square root. Square root of 100 is plus or minus 10. Now that actually allows you to really narrow down your choices. You only want ones that have a plus or a minus 10, so we can actually get rid of a fair few of them. What can we get rid of? C has a 0 in it. We don't want that. D, I don't know what's going on with D. And E as well. Okay. So it's either between 10 and negative 10 or outside of 10 and negative 10. Let's make a number line for our derivative. I'm just kind of putting this off to the side here where I have space. It's going to alternate. So the easiest number to plug in is what? Get 0. Pick 0 in here and it's going to alternate. If you plug in 0 to this derivative right here, do you get a positive or a negative result? Positive. So in between here is positive, outside of that is negative. And they said increasing or decreasing? Increasing, so negative 10 to 10, B. This one, antiderivative of secant tangent. Which trig function has secant tangent as its derivative? You're looking for which one? Good, secant. So secant of x plus c. A as in abracadabra. All right, you're given this function, find f prime of 1. Easy enough. You're going to find f prime, and then you're going to plug in 1. Bless you. So what is the derivative of that function? 7, good. Plus 1 over x. The minus 3 is a constant, so that's gone. Derivative of ln is 1 over x. Well remembered. If you plug 1 into that, good. So what's our answer? E as in excellent. Doing okay so far? Good. All right. The graph of the function f is shown. Which statement is false? So be really careful. We're going to go do true, false for all of them, and then pick the one that's false. Limit as x goes to 2 exists. All that needs to happen for a limit is the 2 sides come together. Doesn't matter what else is happening. If you zoom in on it, they come to the same place. So is there a limit at 2? Yes, that's true. So it's not the answer. All right, limit as x approaches 3 exists. If you zoom in on 3, do both sides go to the same place? Yeah, true. Limit as x goes to 4, what do you think? No, because there's a jump. So that one's false. So C as in crazy is our answer. And you could go through the rest of the choices too, but for the sake of time, I want to get through 18 of these before the block ends. Bless you. Yep, it doesn't matter if there's a hole there, just for a limit, if they both come to the same place, you're good. All right, particle motion. A particle is moving, they give us what? Typically, they give you velocity. That's a derivative. I don't like this question because it says total distance. So technically, it would be integral when to when? 0 to 3. What do you put for total distance? It's an absolute value of this. And you would need a calculator for that. And this is on the non-calculator part. Here's how they got away with putting it here. This graph is already positive all the time for this section 0 to 3. So you don't need the absolute values and we can do it by hand. But isn't that evil? Evil. All right. So what's your antiderivative for 6t? Good. 3t squared. And then it would be minus 1/3 t cubed such that it's your fundamental theorem of calculus. And all you really need to do is plug in 3 because 0 is going to give you nothing. So let's see, 3 squared, 9 times 3. Okay, you got to be able to do it without a calculator. All right, and then here's 3 cubed, 27, a third of that is 9. 27 minus 9, 18. D is in dingo. All right, this one is asking you for a derivative. What rule do you need? Good, perfect. You're going to bring the 5 down. It's going to drop to a 4. The guts is going to stay the same. And then you're going to chain on the derivative of the inside stuff, which would give you what? Get 3x squared. Oh, good, plus sine of x. Derivative of cosine would be negative sine, and then the negatives would cancel. So now you have to go through and find which one looks like that. E, I agree. Perfect. A tank contains 50 liters of oil at time 4 hours. That's your initial condition, but does time start at 0? No, starts at 4, which is actually good because look at the table. When do your times start? 4, okay? So 4 is like the beginning. R of t is the rate in liters per hour. That's a derivative. Selected values are given. We want is this a sum? Usually tables like this are a sum. Yeah, a right Riemann sum to get the tank, the amount of oil in the tank at 15 hours. So you're going to start with the amount of oil you had in the beginning, which is 50, plus, and then you're going to do your right Riemann sum. So let's do that. What would come first? 3 times 6.2 plus 5 times 5.9 plus 3 times 5.6. Yeah, it's on the non-calculator part. It's evil. Here's what I would do, because I think it's easier to add numbers if they're in a column versus like horizontally. And these are all going to have decimals. So I would write that 50 as 50.0, and I'm going to put them in a column so I can add them together. However your brain fights through this is fine, but I'm just going to show you how my brain would do it. All right, if you multiply 3 times 6.2, you're going to get 18.6. Do you guys see how I did that? Okay. Here to teach you calculus, not multiplying decimals. Super frustrating. All right, what would this one be? 9 times 5 is 45. Is it 29.5? All right, and then this one, 6 times 3 is 18. Carry the 1, what is that, 16.8? And you would add those all together. So let's see, what is this? Did it come out to C? 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, yeah, I agree. C. Cool. You guys had a good attitude about that. I appreciate you because I am the messenger. All right, here you have a piecewise function. Let f be this function. We want k to be continuous. That means the two pieces need to meet up or do what? We're going to set them equal. Okay. Now, what's kind of nice about how they did this is you don't even have to factor it. They factored it for you. What cancels out here? Yeah, x minus 2's. You're going to set these equal 2x plus 1 equals k. And what are we going to plug in for x? 2. Why 2? Because you guys are all brilliant and that's correct. That's where it splits, right? So 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Cool. We're halfway through where I wanted to get. What is the area in the region in the first quadrant bounded by I would write that as e to the 1/2 x instead of x over 2. And the line x equals 2. I don't feel like drawing a graph, but I know that it's going to be integral 0 to 2. How did I figure that out? Without having to draw it, because time-wise, I just... First quadrant, so it's got to start at 0 and 2, okay, of this thing. Technically, it's a u substitution, but I don't want you to write it out. How do you adjust for a 1/2? What do you put out front? A 2. Just slap a 2 in front of it, and you're good to go. And you can't ignore the 0 in this one. You know how in the lower boundary is 0, sometimes we just throw it out? E to the 0 is not 0. Okay, it's 1. Okay, cool. So if we plug in 2, half of 2 is 1, so you get 2e to the 1, just 2e, minus e to the 0 is 1, but then it's times 2. So which one is that? A, cool. This question is super weird. I would actually graph this one and take a look at it. It's talking about continuous and differentiable. The point where you're going to have an issue is 2. If you plug 2 into this, we're just going to draw a graph. What do you get? 0. If you plug in 3, what are you going to get? 1. And there's going to be symmetry. You're going to get the same point on the other side. Now, I would not plug in 4 because I can't do that without a calculator. Where's the next number that we would plug in that we can actually get something that'll work out nice? 6 minus 2 is 4. Absolute value of 4 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So if you have 6, 2, how many units is that the other way? You're going to get negative 2, 2. Because the absolute value, it's going to be the same both ways. So what you end up with is a graph that looks like this. It looks like a bird flying, or how I would draw a bird flying. All right. So read through the choices and tell me what you think. A is correct. It's continuous, but not differentiable. Now, if you didn't think to do that, though, to narrow them down, D doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, of course, that limit's going to go to 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Is there an asymptote here? No, there's not even a fraction. The way you get an asymptote is with a 0 denominator, and there's not a fraction. So I hope that you would have enough sense to get rid of those 2 and narrow it down, even if you didn't. That was a hard question, though, right? U substitution. They tell us u equals square root of x. Great, they started it for us. What's du? What is your derivative of square root? I coached you to memorize. 1 over 2 square root. I want you to just have that one memorized. Now this is a 1/2. To cancel out a 1/2, we're going to multiply by 2. And from there, you can start, narrowing things down. You're going to need something that has a 2 out front. So we can narrow it down to A, B, or C. Otherwise, they're the same except for the boundaries. So let's adjust our boundaries. If you plug in 1, what's your square root of 1? 1. And if you plug in 4, what's your square root of 4? 2. So which one's your answer? So C. Good. Perfect. This is going well. All right. Function f is defined by this. So piecewise, what is the value of integral 1 to 5? You're going to have to do 2 separate integrals. What are going to be your boundaries on the first one? 1 to 3. And what goes inside that one? 2 dx plus, and then you said the other one, it'll be 3 to 5 of the other part. Neither one of those is hard. You just have to do it. What's your antiderivative of 2? 2x plus, all right, and then this antiderivative would be 1/2 x squared minus x, and that goes 3 to 5. Just a 2-in-1 problem. So upper minus lower for this one, that would be 6 minus 2. And then upper minus lower for this one, oh gosh, 25 halves minus 5. And then this one would be 9 halves minus 3. Now it's non-calculator, so you got to sort through that. First part's 4. And here's how I would do this. And again, this is kind of up to you. Everybody's brain works differently. I would keep that the same and distribute the negative because you can get some things to cancel. It'll be minus 9/2 plus 3. Because the halves you can put together, what would be 25/2 minus 9? Like 25 minus 9. So you have 16/2, which is 8. And then you can kind of add the rest. 8 and 4 is 12. Minus 5 is 7. Plus 3 is 10. Did I do that right in my head? All right, D. F of x is given by this awful thing. G of x is not so bad, though. We want the derivative of f of g. What rule is that? That's chain rule. It's f prime of g of x times g prime of x. So you are going to need to find f prime, and you're going to need to find g prime. So what is f prime of x? Is that not the one with square root? All right, it's 1/2 square root. But what rule do we also have? Chain rule. I would just put it in the numerator. You have to chain on the derivative of the stuff inside. So what's the derivative of x squared minus 4? 2x. And the only kind of saving grace to this is what can you cancel out there? Yeah, those 2's are going to go away. So at least we did that. G prime is a whole lot easier. What's your derivative of g? 3. Yeah, we caught a break there. All right. So now you have to do this. F prime of g of x. Well, here's f prime. You have to plug g of x into that. See what I'm saying? So you're going to plug that in. I'm running out of room here. All right, so it's going to be 3x minus 2 over the square root of 3x minus 2 squared minus 4. We had to take f prime and then plug g into it. Times 3. All right. We got through the hardest part. Now, what are we going to plug in? What did they say to plug in? I'm going to go back to that. X equals 3. All right, here we go. 3 times 3, 9 minus 2, 7 times 3, 21. My gosh. Over 3 times 3 is 9. Minus 2 is 7. Squared is 49. Minus 4, 45. So square root of 45. Unfortunately, none of those answer choices say that. What do you have to do now? And this isn't even calculus, so this drives me insane. So 45 would be 9 and 5. Square root of 9 is 3. So which one is it? Oh, didn't you say A? Rely on your common sense and your instincts because you have them. You didn't just crap guess A, though. You looked at it and you were like, I feel like that's the one that's going to, you know what I'm saying? You have instincts, use them. Good job. And thank you for having a positive attitude. I can get through 18. We're going to do it. All right. I actually really like this question. Differentiable function is shown. H is this. Which of the following is true? They're comparing the function, the derivative, and the second derivative at 6. So first, let's do H of 6. H of 6, that's the integral. Derivative means slope, integral means area. Your area from 0 to 6. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know that it is what? Negative. Why is it negative? Below sea level. All right. Now, if you find H prime of x is going to just be f of x. So H prime of 6, look at your graph. What is the point at 6? 0. And then your derivative means slope. If you do a tangent line at 6, what is the slope? Positive or negative? Because I don't know exactly. Positive. So H prime of 6 is positive. So they're actually going to go in that order, negative, 0, positive. So can you find the one that says, I think it might be the first one, A. I actually kind of like that question because you had to, know stuff, but it wasn't super difficult. All right, particle is moving. This is your velocity acceleration stuff. They gave us position. A and B are just numbers. They're constants. They don't equal each other. We want at rest. How do you do at rest? Velocity is 0. What rule do we need to get this velocity? Good. It's the first thing. times derivative of the second. Now, derivative of t, what's the derivative of just x? 1. So the derivative of t is just 1. B is a constant, so that's nothing. Okay, so just forget it. So first, I mean, if you want to put a 1 there, you can put a 1 there. All right, plus the second thing times derivative of the first, which again is 1. And we're setting it equal to 0. So ignoring those 1s, you have t minus a plus t minus b. T plus t is 2t minus a minus b. Now this isn't hard, but it does look weird. You have to remember which letter you're trying to solve for. You want t by itself. So how would you try to get t by itself? Add a and b over, and then divide by 2. So which one? B. Perfect. Hang in there with me. We're going to get it. All right. This is the graph of f. F of x equals integral 2 to x of g of x. Whenever you see an accumulation function like that, if you aren't sure what to do, take a derivative. Remember, do a derivative or an integral, like one or the other. If it's already an integral, do a derivative, like 50-50 shot. So what's the derivative of this? G. That's it. Don't overthink that. It's just the stuff inside. So if this is f, we want the derivative. If this is linear, the derivative is going to be constant. So it's either A or B. I will go ahead and tell you it's A. Why is it A and not B? Increasing means positive, means above sea level. Perfect. Last one. When you see, yeah, it was above, yeah, the line and the axis looks the same though. So, all right, when you see ones like this, you're not going to do this as a limit. You're going to do it as a derivative. You're going to figure out what's the function, take the derivative, and then plug in the number that they want. Way back when, we did a whole sheet of these. Wait, sorry, go ahead. It is not. In fact, you can usually, I'm glad you brought that up. You can usually dismiss 0. They put it in there specifically to trick you. So good call. When you see one of these, it ain't 0, and that'll probably be one of the choices. Get rid of that one. Okay. What's the function? Don't overthink it. Use your instincts. What's the first thing you see there? ln is your function. What's the derivative of ln? 1 over x. And what number are we plugging in? Don't overthink it. Just what's 4. It won't be 0. It will not be 0. If you think something is going to be a 0 when you see one of these, it's not. It isn't. And then so your answer is 1/4.